All right, let's talk about a word that you are hearing absolutely everywhere these days, from the news headlines to your local grocery store. Inflation.
You've definitely felt it, right? That nagging feeling that the money in your bank account just doesn't seem to stretch as far as it did last year or even last month. Well, there's a reason for that, and it all comes down to this one powerful economic force that impacts your wallet every single day.
Okay, so let's dive right in. What exactly is inflation? And maybe more importantly, what isn't it? Because it's way more than just noticing that, stuff seems more expensive.
So here's the most important thing to get right off the bat. Inflation isn't just about high prices. It's the process of prices getting higher and higher. Think of it this way. It's not a one-time price jump for a single product. It has to be a broad, continuous, and pretty significant increase across the whole economy, and it has to last for a while.
So for something to really be called inflation, it needs to check these boxes. It's a sustained trend, not just a blip on the radar. The increase has to be noticeable, something you actually feel. And this is a big one, it's often uneven. You might see the price of gas totally skyrocket, while the price of your smartphone stays about the same.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Inflation isn't just one speed. Nope. It can move at totally different paces, and each speed has a vastly different effect on the economy. Kind of like a car that can be creeping along in traffic or just sprinting down an open highway, completely out of control.
Economists basically break it down into these four main stages. And as you can see, each one is a step up from the last. We can start with a really slow creep, and then, if things get out of hand, accelerate all the way into a full-blown economic emergency.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly. You see that little bit of creeping inflation, around 2%? Believe it or not, most economists think that's actually healthy and good for growth. But once it starts walking or running, it becomes a huge problem. And it really hits the wallets of the poor and middle class the hardest. And then you have the worst-case scenario, hyperinflation. That's when money can lose its value almost overnight. It's a nightmare that can cause a country's entire monetary system to just collapse.
So let's get to the why of it all. What are the big forces that actually make prices rise in the first place? Well, it usually boils down to two main stories, two different sides of the supply and demand coin.
Okay, on one side, you've got demand-pull inflation. This is the classic textbook case of too much money chasing too few goods. When everybody's out there wanting to buy stuff, but there just isn't enough to go around, prices get pulled up. On the other side of things, you have cost-push inflation. This happens when it just gets more expensive to make stuff. Think about rising wages or a big spike in the price of oil. The companies making the products have to pass those higher costs on to you, the customer, which pushes prices up.
Now, this is probably the most important thing to understand about all of this. Inflation does not affect everyone equally. Not at all. It's not a tide that lifts all boats. In reality, it creates a pretty clear divide between people who get hurt by it and a few who can actually benefit.
So who gets hit the hardest? Well, anyone on a fixed income. Think about a retiree living on a pension that pays the same amount every single month. As prices for everything go up, that fixed check buys less and less. Savers also take a huge hit. I mean, if your savings account is paying you 1% interest, but inflation is at 3%, you're actually losing 2% of your money's buying power every year. And if you've loaned someone money, the cash they eventually pay you back with is worth less than when you gave it to them.
But on the flip side, some folks can actually come out ahead. Debtors, people who owe money, are a great example. If you have a fixed-rate mortgage, your monthly payment stays the same, but you're paying it back with future money that's worth less. It's almost like getting a slow-motion discount on your loan. Business owners can do well too, selling things they made at yesterday's lower cost for today's higher prices. And people who own assets, like real estate, often see the value of those assets climb faster than inflation, which actually grows their wealth.
And this really just gets right to the heart of the matter. Ultimately, the biggest, most profound effect of inflation is how it quietly redistributes wealth in a society. It can widen the gap between different groups without any new laws being passed or policies changing. It's a silent, invisible force with incredibly powerful consequences.
Look, understanding all of this is not just some boring academic exercise. This stuff directly impacts your financial life every single day, your savings, your investments, and all your big plans for the future. So, as we wrap things up here, this is the question I want to leave you with. Now that you know the rules of the game, how is inflation shaping your financial story? Are you more of a saver or a borrower? Is your income fixed or does it have room to grow? Do you own any assets that can outpace rising prices? Really thinking about where you fit into this puzzle is the very first step to navigating an economy that's constantly being shaped by this powerful and often invisible force.